What's up, guys? Hades here. Today I have an awesome video. There is two incredible matches this week that I want to go over. I'm going to go over the PRD IMPK match right now, and then in the next video, which I'll probably release tomorrow, is going to be the Line versus SSQ. Both of these are insane matches. All four teams are like legitimate top 10 threats. I have them all in kind of the A tier, high performing teams. Very, very fun to watch. Now, obviously we know the results because we've seen it, but that doesn't matter. What we're trying to do is we're trying to learn, we're trying to get better, we're trying to see who is performing well and what they do well. So right here in the white we have PRD, and bottom left in the red we have IMPK. And seems like a pretty good spread for red. I'm not a big fan of these, unless you have a like really crazy spawn in the front. But even then, like, this is kind of risky because if they also have a nice spawn, like this player could easily block that middle spot. Bottom looks pretty balanced, very balanced actually. Very good reloads. I'm very happy with these reloads, and you can tell the higher ranked teams just kind of do it better. Again, very clean here. Maybe one missed position, but overall pretty solid. I do see two lines going to this one, so there is a mistake here, and there's two lines here. So IMPK has some pretty massive errors right off the start. On the top side, they're gonna have at least two people missing, and we're gonna find out kind of what happens in this location here in the following seconds. Now, things to consider. When this happens to you and your team, IMPK wins the battle, you need to not cancel manually. Let this player cancel your own player. Now you get an instant relocation, so all these players that got left behind, they can go again. And you'll notice the people in the back row are all stuck, and that's their own fault. They shouldn't have been making aggressive relocations. But it ends up being a very neutral kind of stance here at Tower 1. Now, I made a tier list on the best teams last season, and I also made a tier list on the best players, and you'll see some common names here, and I'm going to click a few of them. These are their alts, or but it's the same player, and there's some very strong players in this match. Now, what do you expect from a match like this? Well, first of all, you have to defend the front locations. There's just no way around this. They already failed to protect their corner player, Donde, with a very smart relocation forward. Now PRD's in the driver's seat. If they port this player, which they don't, but they get the move back, and now they get to move forward. And once you move forward, you just start soaking up the position, and you can see the top now has 5 touching to the IMPK 3, and now 2, and this is just falling away from them. And you can see PRD is pressuring the tower. They're gonna collect this. I am no doubt that they'll have that within a short span of time. IMPK looks to be doing much stronger here. They're burning the corners with not a whole lot of retaliation, just a few hits here. So it's looking good for them on this bottom side. Let's check out the center. And center is kind of where we see the story play out. They just got absolutely destroyed. They got mauled. This is just too fast. You can't give up one of your towers this quickly. It needs to be within balance, right? This is within balance, and this is within balance, and this is just not quite in balance. And you can see here, both teams have 40 players, so there's no excuse. You need to perform. Your players at each location have to do their part, or you're going to fall behind. Now, one thing I'm not a big fan of, and this is probably a small reason why they're in a losing position here, is 5 or 6 players already at their home. 5. I didn't see this relocation. 5 is too many on the start. Like, yes, you want to protect what you have, but you can't have given up a contested tower so easily. And giving up middle so easily is definitely a problem. And you can see here, IMPK went with 2 defenders, so they're +3 on the map. And 2 versus 1, if the players are even half decent, you're always going to win this trade. We see a TP come in. Now, I do like this play. 2 for me at the 45-minute mark is too many people. Like, the players in this middle did not rotate. And if you're not going to rotate, well, now all these players are sitting doing nothing. Now, PRD technically behind on points because IMPK has 3. They're getting 35. They're actually in a big advantage. If these players don't move, we have, 10, 11 players doing nothing. And then we can see PRD just captured this. It turned yellow, and they've already turned the tides. Very good teleport play, very well coordinated. They already have a TP. They already teleported someone. And now it's 5 versus 1, really. 5 versus 2. And now MPK is on the back foot. Because they won so hard, they don't actually have anyone dead except for one player who already has a relocation. So they're actually going to be able to hold this for a significant amount of time. Now, what really matters is, can they transition this lead into another lead, right? So they already won the top pretty decisively. We saw that it kind of collapsed for them, and these players are very solid. And there's still this neutral kind of battle here that IMPK has won the tower, but the personnel has not changed, right? So what do you do in this position? Do you keep fighting for 4? Do you look to fight this overcommittal mid? I would say definitely not middle. I would say you have to keep fighting for it, keeping a position here. I think there's too many at home. In a position like this, you can always come back. And these players who die should be going back to home, or they should be going to Sun and Moon Altar, in my opinion, in this kind of phase of the game. I still think there's too many players stalling middle. I think PRD should have already moved. I would like to see relocations preset before they win. Like, they won this 4 or 5 minutes ago. They didn't need every single player. Like, rotate away. So there's too many players there. There's too many players here. Like, all these PRD players are technically, obviously they have value because they're keeping IMPK players here, but they're technically not doing anything because they don't own the tower. And based on the result of the game, I can kind of tell that they never will get this tower. You can tell when players are stronger, when teamwork is better, and rallies are quicker. Like, you can feel it. You can see it when relocation blocks come in constantly and actual progress is constantly made. But that's not the case here. And then if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, I always say, do not overcommit to the enemy home, because guess what? It's really, really easy to defend. Because guess what? Anyone who dies is literally that far. Like 1, 2, 2.5 screens away. It's like a 30-second walk. It's nothing. It doesn't take any time. And then guess what? It's also close to the middle, which is only 1, 2, 3, 4 screens away. So what are you going to do? 5, 6 players commit to Tower 3, and then what? Well, now IMPK took 3, and they're going to relocate down here and overwhelm this into a hard winning position is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of relocations down here. And I don't think PRD is going to be able to hold this for a significant amount of time. Hold the position, even though they're still technically losing it, right? They've never owned this position. So what do? They have Tower 1, 5 players. Tower 2, 5 players. I do like 5-player defense. I think that's kind of pretty close to the sweet spot. I know some people like 3, 4. I personally like, when there's 40, I like 6, 7. But when you're behind, you can't even go with 5. Like, you have to press the matter. So taking 1 off, keeping 4, I like 4. 4 is really good in this position, in a losing position. What I don't like is overcommitting. There's just so many people here. I think this is never the right play. Because what happens if IMPK moves? Even though they own it, like, you have 2 exposed positions, right? Even if you win this, if PRD starts to push for a win here, they're going to leave everything else extremely vulnerable. So they're defending a losing position which I don't like. I would like them to either press the middle or press this all in, not just like, like a 5-man, because all these players don't have to be here. And it's so far away from the side, and you'll see all these can just be blocked constantly. There's 5 lines. If IMPK is paying attention at all, they're just going to get blocked in the back, and you see lots of blocks. If you aren't blocking or killing reloads, that's a problem, because that's one of the biggest gripes I have whenever I'm in a tight position and people aren't blocking or canceling. Like letting this player in from across the map, it's a minute and a half walk, maybe minute 40. And if no one has a relocation or blocks it, you just let someone get down here for free. But like I said, this is a close match. This is actually very high level. I am nitpicking, but these are things to be thinking about when you're shot calling in the middle of a game. Do you keep pressing for it, or do you need to change your focus? And, it's hard to decide in the middle of a match. And, you have to balance the micro versus the macro. And I talked about that in my last video. I went into depth on my mistakes on my micro and what I could have done better, 1v1 hitting. What I don't like is the lack of effort on this tower. Like, if you coordinate it properly and you bring support skills and you do everything right, you can take this almost instantly. It's so hard to react to. If everyone goes for it, it just changes hands. And now instead of fighting a losing battle here, they now fight a winning battle, right? Something I haven't seen is tower kind of control, or even just attempts. I would like to see attempts. Without attempts here, IMPK can just focus, like go right for their face, go for the castles, hit them, go for rallies, and there's nothing they can do in return. Slight problem. Now, we see here PRD went a little bit skimpy on their defenses, which I talked about, and you're going to see people kind of try and find a way in. Here we see some more, another attempt on Tower 3. I think this attempt is a little too late. I believe they're waiting on the TP cooldown, but they're 12,000 behind now. It was close, but now it's not very close. There's been too much significant time loss to make this like truly work. And then guess what? Everyone who died on IMPK in that big battle, well, they died into base, and now here they are right back at home. You have to have so many teleports available and so many people ready to rotate, or it just doesn't work, right? And then what are you going to gain if you get this, right? You're only going to gain a 10-point advantage. It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Yes, they gained it, and they made a good play to obtain it, but again, how long are they going to be able to hold this, right? Can they even hold out the rest of the match? Does it even matter? Is it too late? Because they're only gaining 5 points per second, and you can do the math. It's 13 minutes, 13 times 60, and you get your result, right? And it's just not even, it doesn't even make sense mathematically. Plus, look, dead. Anyone you port from the home just is right back. Anyone you port down here is right back. And then the game is just back to neutral. And then, well, you're overcommitting. Now here's the attack on the back. They did a great defense here. I like this. 5, 6, 7 is about right, especially at the home. I think IMPK could easily teleport in a few players here. Like, this player does not count as a full player, right? One hit and they're gone. And this player is not a full player. This is basically one player. They're all burning. This is not a defense. 2 or 3 people could easily win a fight there and take over that position. But they're probably too distracted to even think about that. And they're winning, so they don't have to make any large plays. And you'll see here, the force is just too large. The relocations are very clean, like completely perfect blocks of players. You really want people of like 4, and you get like 2, 3 people quick into your rally, and then boom, you attack them back. I don't think there's enough time for 7 minutes, 10,000. They'd have to get 2 right now, and they already own 3. So I just don't think that there's a world where they get it. They have no pressure in the middle. I mean, there's one coming in, but IMPK skimped in the middle. Not a big fan of going down to 2 or 3 or whatever it was, but I think because the timer's so low, it actually is the correct move. But yeah, I think a big recap for this game and just something to take away in your own experience is how quickly do you rotate and where do you choose to commit? Because if you're in the wrong location at the wrong time, then you did something wrong. And then if you are in an even matchup, you need to have well thought out builds with variation and quick rallies, or you're going to lose the position. And I think IMPK just did it slightly better than PRD in this match. I think both of these teams are probably top 10 on my list in terms of just average players, ability, plus coordination, plus teamwork, plus participation. Like, you can see teams that get 40 out of 40 are pretty legit, and it's not a whole bunch of alliances are able to get 40 out of 40 on time. But even just 40 to 40 on time is going to change your play. So yeah, I hope you guys like this video, and if you do, leave a thumbs up, and I'll catch you in the next banger.